Section 17B, Disasters, Attacks, and Hazards. 17.3, Expect the Unexpected. Natural disasters, man-made hazards, and technological hazards can create emergency conditions in a wide variety, magnitude, scope, urgency, and degree of damage and destruction. Disasters or incidents resulting from a threat or hazard can occur at any time with little or no advance warning. These incidents can be local or widespread, predictable or unpredictable. Emergency plans help prepare for and mitigate the impact of these threats on an installation, personnel, and the mission. 17.4 Installation Emergency Plans. Installations, often coupled with a national-level response, must develop plans for the hazards likely to affect their areas based on appropriate response, mitigation, and recovery procedures. Installation emergency management plans provide comprehensive guidance for emergency responses to various incidents. Information on these types of hazards is provided here. Natural disaster hazards. In terms of cause, natural disasters fall into three categories: geological, meteorological, or biological. Natural geological hazards include earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, landslides, mudslides, sinkholes, glaciers, and icebergs. Natural meteorological hazards include floods, flash floods, tidal surges, droughts, fires, precipitous storms, avalanches, windstorms, tropical cyclones, hurricanes, tornadoes, waterspouts, dust or sandstorms, extreme temperatures, lightning strikes, and geomagnetic storms. Natural biological hazards include diseases that impact humans or animals, such as plague, anthrax, botulism, smallpox, tularemia, viral hemorrhagic fevers, West Nile virus, foot and mouth diseases, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and pandemic disease. Technological hazards. Technologically caused incidents include central computer, mainframe, software or application, internal and external, ancillary support equipment, telecommunications, and energy, power, utility, or nuclear power plant failure. Man-made accidental hazards. Man-made accidental hazards include the spill or release of hazardous materials to include explosive, flammable liquid, flammable gas, flammable solid, oxidizer, poison, radiological, and corrosive materials. Also, man-made incidents include explosions or fires, transportation accidents, buildings or structure collapses, energy, power, or utility failures, fuel or resource shortages, air or water pollution or contamination, dam, levee, or other water control structure failures, financial issues including economic depression, inflation, financial system collapse, and communication system interruption. Man-made intentional hazards. Man-made intentional incidents include terrorism, sabotage, civil disturbance, public unrest, riot, strike or labor dispute, disinformation, criminal activity, electromagnetic pulse, physical or information security breach, active shooter, and product defect or contamination. With regard to active shooters, there is no pattern or method to their selection of victims. Active shooters will use firearms and sometimes other weapons, such as improvised explosive devices, to impact additional victims and impede first responders. Note, in the event of an active shooter incident, lockdown is declared to protect personnel as a base-wide protective action used to restrict the movement of personnel and to aid law enforcement first responders in neutralizing the shooting suspect as quickly as possible. During lockdown, no person may exit or enter another area until the all clear is broadcasted, unless movement is required to escape from a dangerous place or situation. Chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear hazards. Chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear hazards, as well as toxic industrial material hazards, cause adverse effects through deliberate release and dissemination. Terrorist threat or use of chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear material is among the emerging transnational threats used as asymmetric measures of intent. Defense against these threats requires an installation-wide team that includes all personnel to plan, prepare, respond, and recover from a chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear incident. Each threat agent presents a unique hazard, as briefly described here. Chemical. Chemical agents are chemical substances intended for use in military operations to kill, seriously injure, or incapacitate. Chemical agents categorized according to their physiological effects include lung-damaging agents, choking, blister agents, blood agents, incapacitating agents, and nerve agents. Chemical agents can be delivered through a variety of means, such as tactical ballistic missiles, bombs, artillery, grenades, mines, and spray attacks. Due to their persistent nature, nerve and blister agents pose as a primary threat to air bases. Biological. A biological agent is a microorganism or toxin that causes disease in personnel, plants, or animals, or causes the deterioration of material. Biological agents include viruses, bacteria, fungi, and toxins cultured from living organisms. These agents may be found as liquid droplets, aerosols, or dry powders, and can be adapted and disseminated through any of these forms as adversarial weapons. Symptoms of biological attacks may not be experienced immediately after contact. Each agent has a different exposure incubation period before infection. Radiological and nuclear. Radiation is a broad term that applies to a wide range of phenomena. Light, infrared to ultraviolet, radio frequency emissions, and microwaves are all forms of radiation known as non-ionizing radiation. In general, non-ionizing radiation produces heat when it interacts with the body. In contrast, ionizing radiation has sufficient energy to produce ions when it interacts with matter, including the human body. Radiation causes harmful effects as it alters or destroys cell processes and structures essential for the normal functioning of cells. Adversaries may disseminate radioactive materials across an area without a nuclear detonation. However, adversaries may also disseminate radioactive materials by detonating nuclear weapons at various altitudes, to include subsurface, surface, airburst, or high altitude. The primary concerns of a nuclear detonation include blast shock, thermal radiation, heat, ionizing radiation, and ballistic debris for surface and shallow subsurface bursts. Nuclear blasts may also pose an electromagnetic pulse hazard that can cause widespread communications or electrical problems. Toxic industrial material. Toxic industrial materials may be manufactured, stored, distributed, or transported in close proximity to air bases, which can potentially increase vulnerabilities for asymmetric attacks. Most toxic industrial materials present a vapor, inhalation hazard, and may also reduce the oxygen concentration below that required to support life. In the event of a toxic industrial material incident, the most important action is to immediately evacuate to an area outside the hazard's path, if feasible. It is important to be aware that the protective mask, ensemble, and military standard collective protection filters are not designed to provide protection from toxic industrial materials. If evacuation is impractical, implement shelter-in-place procedures.